Good morning, foxes. I hope you're all okay. Apologies again to anyone who wanted the story yesterday. It was another late upload due to some technological issues. But hopefully this one will get to you nice and early because I'm off to school all day today. So I'm up nice and early, ready to go. And it looks like it is going to be a beautiful day. So I hope some of you get to enjoy the sunshine. Right, back to our story. We were halfway through a chapter and Peter has hurt his leg, and that crazy lady with the wooden leg was telling him he can't walk on it for 6 weeks. So let's see if he hatches a plan to manage to go and find Pax. He hoisted himself onto the bench to wait. He hadn't been able to see much of the barn the night before, even with the torch. Now he took it in. The floor was swept bare with bags of seed and fertiliser stacked neatly by the door. The place smelled of clean hay and wood, and not of animals, although he could hear chickens nearby. The workbench took up a whole gable wall of the barn. It was lined with small tools and pieces of wood. Opposite, dark against the bright rectangle of the doorway beside it, draped burlap covered in a bunch of things mounted on the wall. Another convulsion of shivers shook him, this time not from cold. The covered mounds were shaped like human heads. Any number of perfectly harmless things could be hanging on the barn wall, but what they really looked like were human heads. His throat went dry and his heart began to kick hard. He'd been stupid and careless. Probably the crazy woman was going to let him go. Why would she be letting him go? Maybe she wasn't. He found the knife she'd left and wrapped his palm around its smooth grip. Vola had the upper hand in whatever was going to happen between them, but that didn't mean he couldn't defend himself. He slid the blade into his pocket just as she appeared in the doorway. "Drink this." She handed Peter a mug and set a bowl beside him. Peter sniffed at the mug. "Cider. There's a measure of willow bark in it, so drink it all." "Willow bark?" "Aspirin in the wild." Peter put the mug down. He wasn't going to drink the crazy woman's brew. "Suit yourself." Vola took the bowl, began stirring the green paste inside with her finger. "What's that?" "Poultice, with arnica for the bruising and comfrey for the broken bone." She gestured for him to prop his foot onto the bench. The poultice felt cool and soothing as she eased it over the hot, tight skin. She untied the bandana from her overall and wrapped it around his foot, binding it with the second scarf so that it felt secure. Then she straightened up, wiping her hands on her overalls. "How tall are you?" 5'3". "Why?" Vola didn't answer. She rummaged through the stack of lumber, brought several narrow pieces over to a pair of sawhorses and began sawing them into paired lengths. The cut wood smelled fresh and clean, and as she nailed short boards across the top of 2 longer ones, Peter understood. Crutches. She was making him a pair of crutches. The knife he'd stolen grew heavier across his thigh. In a few minutes, Vola had angle braced the top boards and screwed on armrests. She measured the crutches against him, then sawed an inch off the bottom of each. Then she rolled out an old tyre from the corner of the barn. She went to her workbench. She scanned its length. Peter's cheeks burned as she turned into him. "Did you take my knife?" Her voice had turned dangerous, like something that could burst into a flame at the peel of the roof barn. Peter felt dizzy and his heart began to thud again. He pulled the knife out and handed it to her. "Why?" Peter swallowed hard. His words were gone. "Why?" Because I was afraid you might kill me." "Kill you?" She eyed him hard. "What, because I live out in the woods? That makes me a murderer." Peter raised a shoulder toward the wall of the bladed tools. "My tools. I have 20 acres of trees to care for, and I'm a wood carver. You thought they were weapons." Peter looked away, ashamed. "Look at me, boy." He turned back. "Maybe you're not wrong," she said, locking his gaze. "Maybe you see something. Maybe I am." She raised her hand slowly, pinched her fingers together at the front of Peter's face, then suddenly flicked them open. Boom! Dangerous like that. No warning. Peter flinched. "No, I'm sorry. I was wrong." Vola shot a palm at him and spun away. She cut 4 strips of rubber from the tyre, then wrapped them around the crutch tops and and grips to secured them with twine in silence. She held the crutches out. Peter placed one under each arm and eased himself to the floor. It was an immediate comfort to be upright and balanced, with his injured foot safely tucked up. Take your weight on your palms. Lift yourself. Don't hang. Plant the crutches, then swing through. Peter began to thank her, but Vola cut him off again. At the end of the road is the highway. Head left, and in a quarter of a mile you'll come to a petrol station. You figure it out from there. She helped him into his rucksack and then turned away, picked up a block of wood and began to shave off slices as if he were no longer in the barn. Peter tried to step toward the door. He wobbled a little, but not much. That was a hop, Vola said without looking up. I said swing through. Now get out of here. For a moment, Peter didn't move. He didn't know where he was headed, only that it sure wasn't back to his grandfather's. Vola turned and leaned towards him, pinched her fingers together, and shot them out at him. Go while you're safe. Chapter 9, and this is a Pax chapter. Approaching the meadow from the forest above, Grey stopped suddenly, nose in the air. Again, he lifted his muzzle to test the scent more carefully. Stronger. Pax, already hesitant, tensed. Grey hurried to the edge of the trees. A loner is challenging me. He wants his territory. But his display, for the young vixen's benefit, she will choose a mate this winter. Pax followed and took in the scene below him. 4 foxes dotted the meadow. Bristle and Runt stood together, their black-tipped ears forward warily toward the other 2, who faced each other on a ledge of rock halfway down. One of these was a vixen, darker than Bristle, and big-bellied with kits. The other was a large male with rough, tawny fur. His hackles were up, his left ear was split. Grey barked to announce his presence. The challenger spun off the ledge, an arc of blood spraying from his ear, and bolted down the meadow. Grey picked his way down the hillside, Pax following. As Grey passed Bristle and Runt, his very presence seemed to calm them, as if he were an unseen hand stroking their backs. As soon as he passed, Runt danced his excitement at seeing Pax, but Bristle curled a lip and hissed. Pax hurried after Grey. When Grey climbed the ledge beside his mate, Pax dropped to his base and sat respectful. Grey's mate greeted him with affection. Then she shared news. The wind this morning was from the west. It brought scent of fire. We must move soon. She looked at Pax. The outsider smells of humans. Bristle and Runt edged closer, ears cocked towards Grey's response. He is returning to the humans he lived with in the south. I will travel with him to search for a suitable place to move. He and I will rest, then leave tonight. Behind him, Bristle growled again, and Pax felt an urge to run. His boy, he wanted only to find his boy, but instinct told him that he needed to rest and food first. He signalled his agreement, and then Grey and his mate glided silently into the green meadow. Runt bounded over and tumbled into Pax. He dropped the toy soldier from his cheek, inviting Pax to play. Bristle jumped between them and swatted the toy away. Humans, remember danger. Runt retrieved the toy and displayed it between his teeth, defiant. Pax sensed that Runt was now in more trouble than before, and that he was the cause. He'd felt that way often with his boy and the father. The one of his strategies had been to disappear, if that would protect his boy from the man's anger. He backed away, but Bristle was not satisfied. Stay away from the human stinker, he warned brother. Remember the danger. Pax took a step closer. My humans are not dangerous. Runt seemed alarmed by this, as if Pax had issued a challenge. He darted uphill toward his den entrance, but his sister was quicker. She blocked him, and when he tried to slink away in another direction, she restrained him with a heavy paw until he stilled in defiance. All humans are dangerous. Pax's fur ruffled in a shiver at the scene. Bristle conjured then. Wind, cold and howling, heavy with the threat of snow. Pax recognised that wind. The story she was about to relate would end with blood on the snow and cold steel jaws. Bristle bared her fangs at Pax, and then began. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I wonder what story Bristle is about to share. Doesn't sound like a very nice one. I hope you have a wonderful day and get out and enjoy the sunshine, but most of all, stay safe. Bye.